Can I just go shirtless?
Sure.
All right. Tarps off.
Bring in views, maybe.
Tarps off.
We're good. We're recording.
God, I hope not.
Hello.
Oh,
It's been a while. Peter Michaels, as they call you. Do they still call you that?
I was going to say, are you still Patrick Bateman?
I am. The not one and only. What's going on?
Do we know how this stuff all works? It's been a minute.
It's been... Oh, what?
Wow. Keep that going. That was actually pretty good.
There's two ways you can do that, right? There's the bare naked ladies way and then the stained way.
Yeah. I think we'd go the bare naked ladies way.
That's a shout out to Scott Ackerman. That's a comedy bang bang bit. But anyways, we're back after a number of weeks off. Summer vacation. It got busy. It got hectic. It got hot as fuck.
Been like 10 weeks?
Not actually.
No. It feels like it sometimes.
It feels like it. But it does feel like an extremely long time because I was gone. I was in Toronto for like 15 days. It's a long time.
That was a long trip. It felt like a long time. It felt longer
that.
For sure.
Maybe it was like 20. Or anyways, it doesn't matter.
You got some ground covered.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a great trip. Saw some shows.
I was going to say, you saw like at least 3 shows that had me pretty jealous.
I saw 4 shows, 3 of which you were jealous of.
Okay, I don't know what the 4th.
One of them was a podcast recording at Massey Hall, which
okay.
was unbelievable. We did that the night before we came back, just this last Sunday.
A podcast recording at Massey Hall?
Yeah.
We could do this at Massey Hall?
Definitely Massey Hall. We're already in the negotiations. So that was very cool. I saw Sham Family again at a club called The Garrison, which I'd never been to. That was pretty sweet.
Yep.
Saw Peter Van Helvoort's new project, Darling Congress.
And a little reunion at the same time, and that was at the Horseshoe?
Cool. It was so funny because he made note of it in the show a couple times that 7 years ago he, played the final Teenage Kick show there and said that it would never happen again. And, but got to play one song. So they played one Teenage Kick song during the Darling Congress show. And then at the end of the Darling Congress set, he just said, all right, well, we're to take a few minutes, then we're going to come back and play 7 Teenage Kick songs with most of the original cast.
Unbelievable. And
totally shocked.
You had no idea.
No idea.
Clue.
The cool thing is, and props to Pete for this, he, I think the day before the show, put out the times, and there was a mystery band playing after Darling Congress called Casey Keene Sargent, which is Teenage Kicks. So kudos to Pete Van Helvoort because that was smart as shit.
Nicely done.
And very, very cool to be part of that. I could not have been happier.
So, and then the big show was the Budweiser stage.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jack White.
If I'd had
July
my
Talk.
phone, I missed July Talk.
Oh, you missed July.
Didn't see him. Didn't catch it.
How does that happen?
You got to eat dinner, I guess. I don't know. It did not work out. It did not work out. But yeah. So my friend Stuart, a few weeks before we went to Toronto, because we'd already said we weren't going to do Jack. The trip was huge. It was already quite expensive. And then about a week or two before, he's like, all right, you're busy on this day. And I was like, okay, what for? And he's like, well, we're going to go see Jack. And I didn't have a total idea of where his tickets were. And he sent me the tickets, and I was afraid to look at them. But yeah, we were like less than 50 feet from Jack.
Get the hell out of here.
Oh yeah, we were like he was right there. It was fucking crazy.
I would have been like taking my keys and trying to slice that bag that my phone was in out.
Yeah, I think you just have to say you have diabetes, and then they don't make you put it in the pouch. The funny thing, we were waiting in line to get in. So you've been there before.
Yeah.
You got to walk through what is now the CNE grounds, and then you got to cross a little bridge, and then get through the gates and stuff. And in the line to put your phones in the pouch, which you and I have done before. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think you do either.
Nope.
The guy in front of me has his pouch locked up, and then he says, just so you know, I feel very violated right now. And then that was his spiel, and he went into the show. It's like, man, don't fucking come. Like,
and as if you didn't know that it was going to happen. It's very highly publicized.
They're not here making you get vaccinated. They ask you to put your phone away for a couple hours, and you have free reign to open it up in a specific area.
And I mean, it does benefit the show. I still I'll still grab, I'll try to limit myself to one song and one little bit of a video clip at some shows, but it does make a difference when you're like, you've got nothing else to devote your attention to.
Oh, totally.
Except for what's going on right there.
I feel the same way at Bose, and I've talked to people about it before, especially my partner, because when we have a show at Bose, she will not hear from me until 11 o'clock at night usually, because, I think I have enough respect for the artist not to be seen in the crowd with my phone out. I also don't want to be seen, having interactions with these creatives on a fairly regular basis because it seems disrespectful. So there are a number of factors that lead to me not using my phone other than just taking a picture or a short clip, right? I just think should be common courtesy.
But I'll bet being that close, you're
holy
like,
fuck,
damn,
man.
I could get some good.
I was like, man, I wish I could see a picture. And when you went to see him in Vancouver, you had mentioned that he cut Hotel Yorba short.
Yeah. Because again, and the whole, I think the premise behind the phone in the bag is to get everybody into it, so they're into it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that Vancouver crowd just wasn't feeling Yorba that night.
He finished Yorba, and I can confidently say he was like beyond thrilled with the crowd that night. That's like the end, when they come together at the end of Bow, and you've been incredible. I've been Jack White. It was just like he was smiling. He was very, very happy. So it was pretty sweet. It was really sweet to see Jack at what a fucking Budweiser stage now. Did I send you the set list from when I last saw him there with the White Stripes?
No, I did look at this set list though.
Yeah, so that was 20. I forget what year it was.
That was the White Stripes?
2005, I think. 2006 or 7, something like that. Which I was not on the floor at that show. That's for goddamn sure. So it was a pretty special night.
Now, when he fired into the cover song that he did,
yes,
were you aware?
No
Did you
idea.
know?
No idea.
Okay, I imagine.
No idea what it was. I looked after. I was like, hey, he did a Big Sugar song.
I think there's a good chunk of the crowd that might not have known.
Yeah, I believe that.
What that was, but what an unbelievably. So he covers Big Sugar's "Ride Like Hell." Mm-hmm. Which is, that's a perfect song for Jack to cover, and probably could.
What did he cover at your show?
What was the cover? I don't remember him doing a cover at the show.
I
think he stuck to all just Raconteur's Dead Weather Jack stuff.
Okay, what Raconteur songs did he do?
Jeez, you're testing my memory. That's already.
I'm gonna have to pull up the set list because he did "Steady as She Goes," obviously.
"Steady as She Goes."
But the other song he did was one that I just never expected him to ever play. He played piano for it. And it was. I'm gonna have to pull up the name.
And
later.
I think you got. Was it "Cut Like a Buffalo"? Was your
which I don't think I've ever seen, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
Great show. The band was amazing. I loved how simple it was. He knocked out all of his new songs in the first 4 or 5 songs, and then didn't really touch them for the rest of the show.
Which they still, and that's always a key component to how good the new stuff is. Like it fits in pretty well, right? Like songs like "Taking Me Back" and.
Yeah. I love it. The drummer was interesting. I liked seeing the kit. It's if you haven't seen it, you could search up his SNL performance from a year or two ago, and his drummers, it's like a Picasso drum set. They're all backwards and facing the crowd, and he barely uses any drums other than a couple cymbals, bass, and snare.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Again, he didn't really use it all that much, but again, you're seeing Jack White. You're not there to necessarily see the whole band.
No, but the band is always massively impressive.
His bass player realized is from where I was, which was pretty close. I don't know if I said, looks like Johnny Cash. He's got the Johnny Cash haircut, the kind of low pompadour sort of thing. It was very cool.
Oh,
anyways,
I wasn't as close, so I didn't get
it was
as good a look.
And fairly positive as we drove back because we stayed in the city for a couple hours, realized we missed the train, had to split an Uber back to Burlington. Fairly positive we passed at least the tech crew and the big honking vintage looking Prevost tour bus heading to Michigan. I think they were playing Michigan the next night.
And what about the poster? Did you get Jack's posters, or
you
didn't get a sold?
They were sold out.
Yeah, those would go pretty quick. They're pretty cool.
They were gone. It was a cool poster though, but I couldn't tell if there's any sort of local.
I don't think in that. I remember looking at that one online. I don't remember.
It's like a magician type
That's right.
Thing,
it was the magician thing for sure. Speaking of magic.
Oh my God. I literally had to go to the web version of Zoom to be able to log in with a meeting passcode because my computer is not updated to the current Zoom.
Oh, I've had that happen often.
That does happen.
I've been late for work meetings and honestly, I had to update. I swear, my dog ate the paper.
But that's a work meeting. We don't want this to be considered work.
No.
Hilarious. Hi guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good.
Are you back home now?
I am currently in Etobicoke.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Enjoying
currently in Etobicoke.
The last days or the first day of September, is it? It's September 1st.
September now, yeah.
Totally forgot.
Summer just kind of flew.
Yeah.
Is Etobicoke home now? Because you've been out of Vancouver for a little bit, right?
Yes, I moved to the Toronto area 4 years ago.
Okay.
And you were in Vancouver for a long time before that, right?
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years,
wow.
Based on a coin flip.
based on a coin flip is correct.
That's the lasting effects of a flipped coin.
You were dedicated to holding true to that.
Well, I think too, over the years, I was never there. We were on tour, and I don't think I was home for probably 18 years straight.
Yeah, that's crazy. Those days are
something else.
It's a little better now, though, right? You get a little more home time.
It's very different. My life is totally different, and what can I say? I'm three husbands later, and one generation of dogs that passed away, and on to the next generation of dogs. Life just, like for all of us, it's so different now than when we were in our 20s and 30s.
Wow, you should write a book. You should really write a book about
There is a book.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I was going to say, oh my God, what are we doing here? I know that, you talk about spending a little more time at home, but you were here in Red Deer twice in what, like 9 months?
Yeah, well, and honestly, even
it was
stretch
fantastic.
back to 3 times, because at the Canada Winter Games show in 2019, right. And then eliminate those couple of years from the pandemic.
Good heavens, yeah. And then, we were lucky enough to come there to Bose with Buck Cherry. And then, again, just a little while ago. And both times were phenomenal. We just love it. And Red Deer is a really, it's a really neat little city. It really is. It's very artistic, and they've got a really, really cool music scene.
I was just going to say, and you've played like so many different venues in town as well, because I'm trying to think on that book tour when you're doing the Storytellers, it was a smaller venue downtown, I want to say, right?
Yes. I don't remember the name of it.
The name of it either.
How long ago was that?
Maybe it's not still there.
So what year did that, was that like 2016?
Yes, 2016. Yeah, and that was a phenomenal experience too, doing that first book tour especially, and we wound up being able to do a couple of those nationally, and that was for a long time it was my favorite way to perform, until lately I really have gotten really back into the rock shows and stuff like that. It's just way too much fun.
Well, I missed the Red Deer show a few weeks ago, but based on what Peter was telling me, that you do a fair amount of storytelling during the set, right?
Oh, sure. I like to tell people about the song before we play it, just to give it context a lot of the time. And, it depends on the audience. It's like that old saying, read the room. And I try to very much. But it's always it always feels personal somehow, and the audience is always winds up feeling very familiar. I think that we're all the same generation basically, and we've all been through all the same things, and from liking DRI as kids to Jane's Addiction, coming in, and then grunge and losing all our friends to drug addiction, and then going on, and then Metallica puts out their best record in their career only a couple of years ago, which is like, if they can do that, the rest of us can do anything too.
Yeah, I was listening to your interview, which is a number of years old, on the Turned Out a Punk podcast with Damian Abraham.
Oh, cool.
And which was really cool, and you could tell how excited he was to chat with you. And part of that, I think, was because you have been witness to so much history in the punk / hardcore / thrash, whatever you want to call it, umbrella, for so many years now. I thought it was really fascinating, though, in that your advice to other musicians is simply never quit. Are you still following that mantra for musicians?
Oh, absolutely. I really think it's true. I don't know. I look at Tina Turner, for example, and she was still doing stage performances and wearing her heels and rocking that mini skirt into her 70s. Mm-hmm. And I just think, why shouldn't we do what we do and do what we're good at? I mean, I think that a lot of artists, I don't know if it's the same for women or for men, but I think a lot of artists, as they get older, they feel pressured to kind of morph or modify. And sometimes it's really, for sure, it just might feel better in general. And I know for me, like when I first started performing after going through cancer treatment, I felt a bit like a fish out of water. I didn't feel like myself for a real long time. I didn't know, I think, that I was still like really sick for a long time. And it just felt better to do acoustic shows. So I did that for, a couple of years. It just felt too contrived to do a rock show. I don't know if it was like I didn't feel up to it, but I just felt so transformed from having gone through cancer. It just didn't feel right for me, and I finally got to a place where it felt right for me again, and so I'm very happy about that. And knock on wood, hopefully I always stay healthy so that I can get gig neck every night, bang my head, and do what I love to do.
So I'm kind of curious, you've obviously learned a lot as you've done this over the past few decades. You had a lot of people help you when you got going. I was thinking, like, during that show at Bose here a few weeks ago, there was a local band called Face the Earth that opened for you. When you get into those circumstances, you were praising them and saying that these guys are the future. Are you good at unsolicited advice? Like, will you come in and see a new band opening for you and be like, hey, you know what, guys? I've learned, or do you wait till bands come up to you and say, hey, Biff, we kind of...
It's pretty organic. Like, bands are all the same. When bands meet each other backstage, you gel with them, and everyone has the same experiences. It's all the same. I kind of view them as equals. I didn't really see them at all as a baby band, and maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I know a lot of baby bands here in Toronto, and I don't want to give them advice unless they would ever ask me for, an opinion or insight. I just think it's important for bands to just be themselves, and artists, if they're solo artists, they just have to do their thing, and everything will come. It's almost like a Bruce Lee type of mentality. Just put into practice, everything will fall into place. Drive to the gig. The gig will happen no matter what. Just try and stay out of your own way, kind of thing. And that band was particularly talented, to say the least, really talented. And it's really enriching seeing a young band that's very talented, because it just puts a huge smile on your face. And, you believe it. It's like, you can think of a lot of bands the first time you saw them, and you're just like, you're over the moon, you're beaming at them from the audience, and I think that that's something that's, that's a true feeling, and that's a good sign that it's a really good band. You want to keep supporting them.
Not to, like, I do, like, I think we have lots of questions about your past, which I hope that's all right. And I know you've gone over these things countless times in your life, but today, listening to Turn Out a Punk, I had no idea about Gorilla, and listened to that record, and it's so fucking cool. It's so unique.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I love that record. It's so funny because those guys were into Bad Brains, and the Jungle Brothers, and and we our first tour, our first shows were with DOA. And then we got to tour with Tri-Pig's band at the time. He had the Wongs. And it was phenomenal. I think back to it, it was like 1989, 1990. We had no idea what we were doing. We just did it. And it was so fun. It was just those guys are kind of like, I'm not going to say they were like Rastafarian skate guys, but in a way, that's kind of what it was. And I think that was really, sorry, my computer keeps making me log in. I only have 44 gigabytes left on my computer.
That should be enough.
Is that bad? Is it bad? Like, does that mean it's like done?
That should be good. That should be more than enough.
If we get a blank screen, we won't take it personally if we all of a sudden lose you.
Oh. Now I'm on. Now I can see you. But yeah, Gorilla, if I listen to those songs, it makes me sad because there was nothing digital. We had a cassette tape, and it was just, yeah, it was really phenomenal. It was really phenomenal. And all those guys are enormously talented and went on to do really cool things. Kent Jameson, the bass player, is still working with NoFX and living down in California. Randy Steffes, of course, is with SNFU now.
Yeah.
You know, he had a really wild ride. He was managing Green Day for a while, and then did a whole bunch of other things. And of course, Brett, you know, he's in Modern Terror, but, you know, became a barber, and then also toured with Pennywise. He still tours with Pennywise, and I think Gimme Gimme, the Gimme Gimmes. Yeah, they're just those guys are just enormously talented guys, and they went on to do all that stuff. And I kind of went into being a solo artist, but first I of course went into other bands and tried that for a little while too. I think that because you're saying the music that Gorilla did was kind of, you know, it was kind of like punk funk.
Yeah.
In a way,
It's
it was like a
blast.
bit of a nod to the Chili Peppers. It was very positive and upbeat. And once we got to Vancouver, man, I started doing drugs with everybody else at the jam space. And I wanted to be in dirty grunge bands and thrash bands for a while. And that did not fit with the happy Rastafari, ganja smoking skateboarders that Gorilla was all about. You know, it just didn't work. But I was also a 21-year-old girl. So I think that, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. I wasn't very mature and still trying to find myself.
Yeah. So did Gorilla ever cross paths with artists in the Riot Girl scene at the time? Because it would have been similar eras, I think, and I couldn't help but think of Kathleen Hanna to a certain degree, listening to your vocals at what you said, 21, 20, something like that.
Yeah, really young, and we never did. It was my band Chrome Dog that wound up constantly touring in the U.S. And
Right.
so we would go up and down the West Coast, and definitely sometimes I was put on bills, but mostly, and something that I, at the time anyway, which was always important to me, was to be on bills with dudes, because then I felt like that was like a huge honor, that, you know, if I was the only chick, it wasn't because of any other reason than, you know, maybe I was a peer. You know, it's all delusional, magical thinking that I had. But it was great fun. We got to, you know, play and tour with bands like Bad Religion and Sublime and stuff like that. And the guitar player from Chrome Dog was this really talented musician named James Yock, who was from a band called Beyond Possession. And yeah, he ran the show. He called the shots, and he had a vision for what that band was. And when you listen to the music of Chrome Dog, it is so different from Gorilla. I was really appreciative of the experience, because it really allowed me to explore something else that was the polar opposite of happy Gorilla music.
Yeah, that's amazing. Anyways, thank you for putting out that EP or that record many years ago, because as of
so
today,
cool.
it's officially in my playlist.
It.
It's very, very cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you keep in touch with any of those guys? Like, I mean, obviously, you know what they've all gone on to do in careers.
I'm not great on personal social media like Facebook and stuff like that. I've always run my own. I call it the work social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as I still keep in touch with them a little bit more with Brett than the other guys, because of course we were married for about 6 months, but we always kept in touch. And yeah, it's been fun, kind of growing older and seeing those guys, how their lives evolve and continue to evolve. I think that our generation, you know, us Gen Xers, like we're probably the first like 50-year-olds who still skateboard and wear our battle vests and stuff like that. I remember the first tour I did of the UK. Is my screen black right now?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay, because it is for me. So I'm trying to but the first tour that I did of the UK, I forget where we played, whether it was like Nottingham or like northern England, and all these women that were at the show who were much older than me at the time, and they were all like rocking the battle vest, and they all smoked, and they were really cool, like rockabilly girls, but they all looked like grandmas. And I thought, oh my God, that's me now. Like that's what we. I'm like, oh my God, and it just makes me laugh. Our perceptions of what it is, and I just think we're the first generation that are gonna, we're gonna rock till the grave.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've told Patrick this story before, but my dad had Alzheimer's and was in a home. He was 69, and this is just a couple of years ago. But I remember him telling me they had a movie night at the old folks' home one night, and I'm like, oh, well, what movie did you watch? And I know he knew what it was. Pulp Fiction.
Oh my goodness!
Right, like we're getting to that generation now where you're going to be rocking to Sabbath and watching Pulp Fiction in the old folks' home.
No more Elvis in the old folks' home. It's
remarkable. That is remarkable.
Yeah, the reason I bring up, if you still keep in touch with some of those guys, like I think we see the rigors of the music business all the time, and the strains they can put on things. You say you've gone through 3 marriages, but you and a guy like Peter Carroll, who have been partners and in this game together for more than a couple of decades. What's the
30
secret?
years.
Yeah, like what's the secret to making that work? That's awesome.
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said for loyalty. And I'm the kind of person, on many levels, I guess, that I'll just, I'll ride or die with people. And that's a big example is the people that I work with. Peter was the only manager I've ever had. I don't know any different. He started managing Chrome Dog in 1992. And at the time, he was also managing a couple other bands, including Annihilator, which is with the famous Jeff Waters. And Chrome Dog was supposed to go on tour with Annihilator across Canada. And again, I was like, I don't know, 22 years old, and very dramatic and very, very delicate in a way. I was easily offended when I was a young girl. And they were the typical boys in a band. They were just incredibly impolite, or whatever the case, whatever grievance I had. And I quit the band. I just couldn't do it. And I was very concerned that Peter would be disappointed, because he had invested time, of course, and money into helping us tour down in the States so many times. And he just said, yeah, take a breather, and let's talk in a week, and we'll see what you want to do, see what you feel like doing. I have a lot of ideas. And at the time, John Dexter, who had Johnny Jet Records, wanted to make a record as a solo artist. And that was, and then we just started working with John, and then it just kept going. And then John and Marsha Zazula started managing me for the US, and then I went to Europe and took the drummer from Annihilator with me and the old bass player from Chrome Dog, because I didn't know anyone else who would do it. And away we went. And it makes me laugh now, because it just 25, 30 years flew by, and all we did was work. That was it. There is no secret. When you're so busy and so immersed in, chasing your dreams, I guess, time does just fly. It just flies. Mm-hmm. And the way we all lived, and I know this is true for a lot of my girlfriends who, for example, are in banking, or who are in owning CrossFit gyms or whatever, like a lot of different backgrounds. We all still live exactly the same way we did when we were 24 and 25, and that is hand to mouth. We still live check to check. Everybody does. People now have families and second cars and second mortgages, and putting kids in through school, or having aging parents that require care and stuff, and everyone lives check to check. I mean, it's remarkable, but we manage. Everyone just keeps going. You just keep going. Time just flies. We work like dogs. Everyone in every job works like dogs.
Never quit.
Never quit.
Never quit.
Never quit. Why quit?
Have you thought about it?
When I was, I think a couple times I wanted to go back to university. I think when I was in college, and I thought I thought I should go back to school because it just wasn't going to pan out, obviously. And I never did, and I'm glad that I didn't. But luckily for me, they were still giving out honorary doctorates. So
oh hell yeah!
I don't know that it'll do anything for me. I don't know if it'll ever get me a job, because all of us musicians who are now faced with not having any revenue source from music, technically, nobody has any training to do anything else. This is all we've ever done. Mm-hmm. So, ultimately we have no skills, other than being performers or being in the performing arts. So it's interesting, to envision how we can pivot if we have to. I don't know. It's pretty hard. Like, I think that, unless you're internet savvy, it would be pretty hard to maintain a household or make a living if you weren't doing what you've always done. It's just hard to pivot for people.
And at the end of the day, you've done a really good job of pivoting, because if you like acting, singing, writing, like there's really not anything, I don't think, that you haven't touched.
I don't know.
Podcasting.
I wrote a book of poetry. It's never been published. I call it trauma porn now, because I think it's too sensitive for a lot of these publishers that read it and then just kind of go, they don't know what to do with it. I'm just like, really? Like, really? Can't you do anything? Like, I think that I should just develop a shibari show where I'm reading from the poetry book while young people are doing shibari rope things. I think that, I'm certainly not going to do it. So maybe that would be something that I could make into a tour that people would buy tickets for. I mean, at the end of the day, the only way we get paid is butts and chairs.
Yeah. Going back 30 years to now, compared to some of the venues and stages and rooms that you've been playing, we'll say for the first 10 years of your career, how do you feel about the crowds and the stages that you encounter nowadays? Like, are there rooms that remind you of 30 years ago, or have things changed that much?
Some rooms are the same rooms that they were 30 years ago.
That's exciting.
A lot of these, and in Canada, it's the truth. A lot of these venues have been around since the beginning of my career anyways. Mm-hmm. And so it's familiar and fun and good to play the same venues. I don't know. I think that the world is so different now than when I started out. Audiences are a little different. Etiquette is different.
Yeah.
It's definitely frowned upon to do any stage diving nowadays. That's for sure. You can't throw a drumstick into the audience anymore. You're not allowed to. There's just lots of different things that make it very different. But I just love it. I've just never been tired of it ever. I'm never tired of it.
That's amazing. And there was one thing that you mentioned a couple times in the interview with Damien about bus fever. Do you mind explaining what bus fever is?
Bus fever is when somebody gets grouchy.
Okay.
And that seems to set in probably 5 or 6 days into a tour for some people. And it depends. I think it's probably worse on a tour bus as compared to if you're flying in and having hotels, or just driving in a rental car and always having a hotel, because you get your own space in a hotel. Everybody hopefully gets their own room, although when I started out it was four guys to a room, me being one of the guys. That's different though, because when you're young you don't notice that you have bus fever because everyone's just drinking malt liquor because it's cheap. But yeah, bus fever is an inevitability a lot of the time. It maybe is different with lots of lots of girls in the band, and that's really what I think. When I was a young person, I didn't know a lot of bands that had girls in them. And the bands that did have girls in them seemed to have more than one girl. And they, I would get in fights with them all the time because I kept, scolding them if I thought that they were, if they argued in front of other bands, I would be like, cut it out. Like you got to represent all girls.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that because it's going to ruin it. Like you have to be like way tougher and way more professional than the guys because they're already thinking that you're a groupie, or they're already thinking that you're inadequate or less than. I had a lot of really strong opinions about it that wouldn't be popular today.
Right.
But it's just really how I felt. And especially back then, surrounding alcohol, when I was first starting out, I drink alcohol just like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Beer at the show or whatever the case. And I just never had good tolerance for it ever. And as soon as I've had a beer or even half a beer, I talk too much. Simple. I talk too much. And, if you have more than one beer, then you laugh too much. And the cadence of your voice is different when you're laughing, when you're drunk. And I would always lose my voice on tour. And literally that was like, for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, I can't do my job and have fun and drink. Yeah. Like literally it's one or the other. And I also never wanted to be misinterpreted. I never wanted my judgment to be impaired in any way because I really wanted to protect what I felt was my desire for peer respect, I guess. So it was just, and now I think about it and I go, man, I was way too serious when I was a young girl. I was just very serious all the time. And now I'm like, I kind of think that, being yourself is probably a little more important than being as regimented and disciplined as possible. But that also just comes with age, as they say, wisdom and age.
So do you think that you went through years lacking that self-awareness that led you to learn those lessons, or were you this serious, this self-aware right from the beginning, like a strategy?
Oh, no, it was just really something that was important to me, just really because I didn't want to be misinterpreted. Right. I was working very hard to try and earn peer respect. That was for me the highest goal. And I knew that, and we played with some very prominent American bands that were incredibly sexist and rude.
Yeah.
But you got to suck it up and keep playing, and that's what I did. I never shied away or, I never took it personally. I knew it was like, a really general way of behaving for people like that. And now, a girl will leave the stage if she's offended. She'll just stop the show and leave the stage. Yeah. Which, to me is, hey man, I'm the wrong generation. Yeah. I'm just like, where are you going? Like, no. Who cares? Don't pay no attention to that. Just do what you do. Like, but that's not popular to think like that.
You're more of a fight through it person.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Never quit.
And well, and it's more fun. But again, you can't have shows like we did back in the day. We could put a roll of quarters in our fist.
Right. Yeah.
And hit somebody, because it's part of the hardcore show. Now that's against the law. I think it's probably good. I don't know. But yeah, things are very different. But I'm happy the way I came up through music and stuff. And then when I wound up meeting Gail Greenwood, who at the time, I think she had just joined L7. She lived in Rhode Island. And it was actually Tri-Pig that introduced us via the telephone.
Wow.
And I just had so much respect for Gail. It was like, she was the most hardcore chick I'd ever seen play. And she also wrote very lush, amazing songs with Tanya Donnelly and her bandmates in Belly and stuff like that. And we were just, we both love dogs more than people. And it was just like, we were fast friends.
Now, do you bring your dog on tour with you now?
My little one, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So who is currently sick today. She has colitis.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Does that help alleviate the bus fever a little bit, having the dog around?
I think so, but I could be wrong. Maybe everyone's too polite, but she's just a little joy. She doesn't bark, and she's just sweet as can be. And she loves the guys in the band. They're her uncles, and so that's just something that's always a happy thing. And it's just great. I traveled with my other generation of dogs too, but one of them, Nicholas, was a very, very barky, mistrustful person. So that was hard.
And this is Grace Freely that you're touring with now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to get, you said generations of dogs, and we actually just had this conversation last week about the difficulty in naming animals, and we both have dogs named after athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Obviously, we know where the Grace Freely comes from, but where do you draw inspiration from when naming your dogs?
Well, a snake that named her Ace Freely, and we called her Ace, but I always put the grr in front of it, and because she's just such a generous little dog. She's very kind, and she's very happy and very loving. She just kind of, to me, she's a Grace. So that's how that kind of developed with Nicholas. I don't know how he got his name. I don't honestly know. We got him out of a guy's garage in Burnaby, British Columbia. And he was the last puppy in the box at this guy's house. And he was just Nicholas. It was just like when you met him, you went, Nick. I never had that name. It was just, that's who he was. And my manager named the other Anastasia.
Sorry, and what does Grace do when you hit the stage? Front row?
Well, somebody gets to babysit her. Like, for example, we're very fortunate at Bose. They always have somebody who is happy to sit with her in the office. And so we either play 45 minutes, 75 minutes, or 90 minutes. It depends. And she usually just sits quietly and waits. And if she hears I Love Myself Today, which is always my finale song, she starts getting excited. This is the report I always get. It's just the cutest.
That's so cool.
Love it.
Wow. I'm curious to know who hung out with Grace.
Producer Ryan, do we know?
A few weeks ago.
It wasn't.
We'll get to the bottom of that.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
That might be the best night of the year for a worker, staff member at Bose, to hang out with Grace Freely for an hour.
Yeah, she's such a sweet little thing.
And then at that show, you were showing off the shoes that you had with her on it. So maybe talk a little bit about, is it Dave Benning?
Yes, it is. And he's an artist from Vancouver. And it's just the coolest thing that anyone's ever given me, almost. Just really unexpected and very generous. He's a very talented commercial artist. And so, I wear those shoes every tour ever since I got them in February.
Very cool. What is this one of a kind documentary that you're talking about here?
Yeah, so of course you've got the book out already, but you're in the midst of doing a documentary?
Well, so Score G Productions and Electric Panda are doing a documentary called Biff Naked One of a Kind, and they have enlisted Jennifer Abbott to be the director, which I couldn't be happier about. I'm a huge fan. Most people know Jennifer from the corporation, and I just think that with, partly because she's a woman and partly because of the lens that she's going to see the story through, which I don't know what it is going to be. I feel like it's going to be really maybe interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. We filmed last year. We had a film crew come with us on some of the Buck Cherry dates, which included Red Deer.
Mm-hmm.
I went to visit Red Deer Hospice when I was there. And so we had the film crew come with me to the hospice. And then come with us at night to be with Buck Cherry. And yeah, a lot of footage we got last year already. So we're doing interviews and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool.
Now, what would you rather, a documentary or a biopic? Because the biopic seemed to, you could play around with the bio. You don't have to remain true to history in the biopic.
It's too common.
I see. Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
You seem like someone who's okay with the facts, though.
Yeah.
As opposed to, the Queen estate.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. I don't really have any secrets. I mean, everything I've either written into songs or put in my book.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, so I'm open to anything they're gonna do or want to talk about or want to expose.
Yeah, no, you seem very transparent about that stuff. I really enjoyed listening to you talking about Chai Pig too, which obviously passed away just a few years ago. But someone like that with the immense legend that they have, definitely in this country anyways, it must have been pretty incredible spending time with him back in the day, because it sounds like he was a decent mentor of sorts, right?
And a reluctant one. Anyone who knows Ken will attest to the fact that he even though he's a sweetheart, to have this 22-year-old girl following him around at every sound check and hanging on his every word was probably pretty irritating for him, especially initially. But he was amazing. I just learned so much from him. He was just such a huge influence on me when I was a young artist and a young performer. And, it's just, yeah, he's very legendary. And I think that there's a lot of artists who pass away in a way they didn't get to what the rest of us who are their fans think would be like the zenith. We just feel like their careers were underserved. And I think Ken should have written a book. I think they're, like just from his own words about his life. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been very interesting. There's a nice book by Walter that is about SNFU, and that's GFY Press, if you want to look that up. And it's very, he really honors the story and honors the band.
That's great.
He has a few of them. He has one on Randy Rampage, and he has like lots. He has like 30 books. I don't know.
GFY Press, you say?
Yes.
All right. I'll look into that for sure. Before we wrap up, are you exploring new music these days? Like outside of your sphere, is new music or current trends in music something that you follow along with?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this year I was able to collaborate with Ritesh Das and his band called Toronto Tabla Ensemble.
Incredible track.
We co-wrote. Thank you. Yeah, it was really amazing. And we're just starting another one.
Very cool.
For his new record. And I just got the MP3 yesterday. And it's just, being able to work with him has been very meaningful for me. I think he's just so enormously talented. And Doug Fury and I are still writing for more songs for Champion. We were going to make it a triple record.
Wow.
Because we had like 35 songs, and some of them were from some songwriting that we did with Jason Darr, who was with Neurosonic. So they're like, I don't know, they're a little more Rammstein meets Madonna. Like, they were just so out of context that we were like, oh man, we got to put these on here because they're just ridiculous. And now it's like, it seems like the sky is the limit. And I think that's one thing that is good about this age of music that we're in. There's really, you can really do whatever you want in a way. And I feel like, I don't feel like I was previously limited, but I think that, there was always, when you work with companies, in different countries as we did, there's a lot of people that have a lot invested in needing to have a say. And I was always very respectful of that. I always felt my job was to write lyrics, to sing as best as I can, and then go perform it. Everyone else has their job. like picking singles for radio because based on what they think their country wants at radio and stuff. I never, I was never that person who wanted to insert my professional ideas like radio. Like, how do I know?
Yeah.
So I think that now being kind of absolutely unencumbered in many ways, it's like being unburdened. And that's something that I hadn't really prepared myself for, because now we just can't stop tinkering with everything because we can. And it's just like, I can't wait until Champion finally comes out. I'm glad we waited and didn't put it out during the pandemic. I just think that, by the time it comes out, it's going to be pretty special.
What a future. What a future. We've got Champion, more with Toronto Tableau Ensemble, possible Shibari poetry readings. Documentary. So the future is bright.
The future is very bright.
Never
There's
quit.
a lot of content coming.
God bless you.
You brought up Ramstein. I'm curious. That show was just was it in Montreal?
Did you go? Sure.
I can't remember what that show was. Would you go and see that show?
Oh, in a heartbeat. They're playing in Chicago, I think, this weekend.
Okay. I'd seen a bunch of clips from, I think they were maybe I thought it was either just
Canada?
Toronto. It was in Canada for sure,
okay.
which doesn't happen very often from what I understand. But good Lord, that is a spectacle.
Theatrics.
That is like, honestly, they are just, a phenomenal act on a million levels.
Yeah. Have you seen them before?
No, but after seeing that, and I've heard of the spectacle of it, but I did have friends that were there, so I was looking at all kinds of social media posts on it, and like I think the light show of it is visible from way up.
Wow.
Like
space.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
From the
They're
ISS.
pretty famous for that.
What about when was the last time you were at like a club punk show?
Oh, I can't remember.
That wasn't obviously your own.
Yeah, I can't remember. I went and saw Shiv and the Carvers at Sneaky D's.
Oh, wow.
I went and saw this artist at Sneaky D's this spring. And I feel like they are the up-and-comer band from Toronto. Very, very phenomenally talented band.
Shiv and the Carvers.
Yeah.
All right, that's the next thing I'm searching up tonight. I'm re-listening to Gorilla and then Shiv and the Carvers.
Awesome.
Thursday night.
Awesome.
Anything else, Pete?
No, thank you very much for taking the time. It was the show here a couple weeks ago at Beau's was like just so wonderful, and there's so much love in that room, and that's all, your connection to the crowd is just beautiful.
It was so nice. Everyone was so nice, and the food was great. We sat and ate. They're still talking about the food, my band. They're still talking about the food.
Yeah, the reputation of Beau's is it's a special thing
very
for
special,
sure, especially living in this community. It's a very exciting scene to be part of.
I'll bet. Yeah, it's a special place, and now I can say I've been there twice. I'm just going to take you guys with me to go see my little. Where are you?
Is that a Bad Brains shirt or a straight edge in Bad Brains style?
Yeah, it's a straight edge of Bad. Hi.
Cool. Grace Freely?
This is Grace.
Yeah, she's not feeling good.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What a face.
Hi. Yeah, that's mommy's mommy voice, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
So what, do you just have to let her rest up and get, or medications? What do you got to do to get her healthy again?
Well, so she's had colitis since we got her. She was rehomed to us when she was 4 months old. She's pretty good. She has a really consistent diet. She's not allowed to have anything else other than her vet prescribed kibble, which is okay. That's all she likes anyway, so lucky. But I don't know. I think that, today she puked 3 times and had lots of diarrhea.
Oh, God.
And so I always think it's the other dogs in the building, and somehow she has Giardia because it's dirty or something. But every time I seem to go to the vet, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so the last time I was there, they gave us probiotics to try it. I don't know what the company is. It's just a powder that I can shake onto her food. And that seemed to really be fantastic for a while, for like almost all summer. But now I'm wondering if it's like, if she needs to not be on that probiotic anymore. Hard to say. It's like.
So is it very much like a human with colitis where there's flare-ups and it's good for a while?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah. And then I stay up with her all night and do the baby wipes and the butt wash and the kisses and the tummy rubs. And, it's nothing I can do. I just have to let her feel better. And if she doesn't get better, in about 24 or 36 hours, then I wind up going to the vet.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want her to suffer. I don't want her. What if it's 5 days? Like, I'm not going to let it go. It's just like, no, let's get it figured out. I don't like her going on antibiotics for it, but they don't seem to have good answers. But the probiotics was a really great thing. I was really happy with how that went for her. Well, so we'll see. Hopefully this is short-lived.
Yeah. Aside from the colitis, Grace Ryley sounds like an incredibly lucky dog. So,
listen, if I could breastfeed her, I would. that is a fact. That is a fact.
That's the title of this week's episode.
Never quit. Breastfeed your dogs. Love it.
Right. Come on. She only weighs 7 pounds. That's a baby.
Well, Biff, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys. I hope you have a great September as we head into fall, and hopefully we see each other soon.
That'd be great.
Sounds good. Have a good night. Peace out.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Bye now.
See ya.
If I could breastfeed her, I would.
That's the name of the next album.
That is a great dog owner.
That is a great dog owner. Hell,
I almost feel bad calling Biff a dog owner because it's more than that, right?
I feel the same about my dog. What about you and Freddie? You let Freddie suckle on that nipple one?
Breastfeed Freddie in a second. Are you kidding me? He'd hate it.
Little easier for you to do that with your dog than me to do it with mine.
Yeah, that's true. 4.5 pounds to what?
100.
100 pounds.
Yeah.
Dear God. You've been lifting that dog?
I should, actually. I could probably use the work.
Well, that was a joy to talk to Biff Naked. What is the appropriate word? Much like Ryley is a live music archivist, I think Biff fits into a role as some sort of historian in Canadian.
But that is even just such a small.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you could probably, and I mean, she does have the book to cover the majority of it. And to be fair, like, I wonder, like, she does all these interviews and she's so nice, so she'd never do it. But I would be tempted if I got asked a question of something in the past. I'd be like, refer to chapter 11 in my book. Like, right?
Yep, that's fair.
But she's way too nice to ever do that. But like, just, I mean, when you go through everything the woman has done, we could have touched on all the humanitarian stuff that she does, all the work with animals that she does, obviously all of the acting. I didn't realize that she was in videos like for Moist. She was in 2 Moist videos. She was in an Offspring video.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either. That's wild.
There's just so much. Headline Lilith Fair.
There's a lot.
There's so much.
Enough for a part 2 someday, perhaps. Yeah. Next time she's in Red Deer.
A true Canadian treasure for sure.
Well, very cool. Biff Naked, of course. I mean, Biff was here in Red Deer twice in, I think it was less than 10 months, right?
So it would have been October
November to July.
I'm trying to think, because I was on that flight with Buck Cherry.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that was October. That was like mid-October.
Right.
So it was right around mid-October into.
So maybe we'll get into July.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get lucky and get Biff back here.
And it was
soon.
truly a great show. Like, she is just works the crowd.
Yeah.
And does make it feel so like just warm and inviting. That was a great night.
Very cool. Well, Pete, who else joined us aside from Biff Naked and Grace Ryley?
A big thanks to our friends at Sawback Brewing Company, Go Services Inc. Cheers.
Ting ting.
To Beau's Bar and Stage.
And these jabronis here that we haven't seen in weeks, Ryan and Ryley, special bunch.
The crew is
and
back
Trevor.
together.
Oh my God,
smiling.
Well, that being said, let's get out of here. It looks like the studio might be getting a little busy.
Okay, so
Communal Creative Studios, by the way, which if you are not following them or The Road to Stage on social media, well, I guess
feel
nothing's
bad.
changed
Feel
in your
bad for
little
you,
brain,
son.
has it?
Summer fun is over. Now it's time to get subscribed.
Get to work!
And we'll be back to work next
Wednesday.
The Road the Stage is produced by Ryan Kuly and Ryley Surian at the Communal Creative Studios in Red Deer, Alberta. In partnership with Go Services Inc., Sawback Brewing Co., Tourism Red Deer, and Bo's Bar and Stage.